you know, there's a friend of mine who just told me, and I was so impressed. I was so tickled. She told me, you don't get a medal for going to Naivas and buying milk or buying tomatoes.
I see where this story is going.
What she meant was this. Yeah.
So you're working in Nairobi. I'm understanding the work environment. Where are you living? Because I definitely know it's not where we are.
Richard. When I got a job with Kegano, I got a bed sitter in Umoja.
Yeah, but Umoja, maybe it was Umoja. It wasn't that bad. Eh?
It wasn't a main house in Umoja. I'm sure you are thinking about the main house in Umoja. The main houses were about, I think, 2 or 3 bedrooms. So actually, even my colleagues who went to Umoja main houses, they were sharing houses so that they can share the rent. It's affordable. Yeah. So I got this guy who had built a very small bed sitter. I could hardly fit a bed. And my stove.
A bed sitter does not fit in a bed.
That time we used to use cooking stoves. Yeah. I'm not sure whether you know what a cooking stove is.
I know.
There was nothing like gas cookers or mekos that we use these days. So I stayed there for a while, and because that's what I could afford.
What are you getting paid around this time?
You don't read the news. My salary is out there. So I was being paid 5K.
Ooh.
My first salary.
80? 90?
91.
91.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
I used to get 5,000. So now you have to divide that 5,000 between the rent and transport fare and all that. And remember, I still have brothers that I'm supporting in school. So one day, when I was asleep, at around 3 a.m., I had some commotion outside my bed sitter. So me, I'm looking through the window and I'm wondering what is going on. So I saw a guy running. I was near a road and there were shops on the opposite side. So I saw a guy running across, carrying a tire, a vehicle tire. And then there were some people shouting, "Mwizi, mwizi, thief, thief." So it turns out that my neighbor, this bed sitter, had a gorofa. So I had a neighbor on top in the upstairs. So my neighbor there had a car. So he used to park it right outside my window on the ground floor because his house is up. Yeah. So apparently these guys have come and removed the car tires from his car. Wow. And they were running away. So when they are running away is when the askaris, the guards, notice, oh, that's something funny. So the guys, these are thieves. So they ran after them. That's why the guy was running with the tires. So that was resolved. But I asked myself, wow, I never heard when these guys were removing the tires. I slept right through it. I only discovered when there was a commotion when they were running away. So I asked myself, hey, one day, am I also going to be taken away when I'm still sleeping?
I'm out.
So I decided to move from that place. I was too scared. So I then went to Otiende.
This is when you were saying
Langata.
Yes.
So I again got a single room. That time I was still single. So I got a single room and I had a roommate, a girl who was a bit younger than me, a good friend of mine. Now the problem with the Langata was, first of all, that plot was because we shared all the facilities. It was not like a self-contained.
Yes. So bathroom you're sharing.
So there's one tap for everyone. There are bathrooms for sharing. Water used to arrive like around 3 a.m.
Wow.
And it would disappear by 5:30. And yet you have like 20 houses.
Yeah.
So by the time now you wake up, you find a long queue of people waiting for water. By the time you're getting halfway through the queue, the water has disappeared. It was trouble. And then when you shower and you're going to the office, the traffic, that time Langata Road was single.
Yes.
So you would take like 2 hours to get to City Mortuary, because now I need to disembark at City Mortuary. And our office was on Gong Road, where Prestige is now. So I had to take another vehicle there. So, but it used to take a lifetime. The traffic was
that shortcut wasn't there. That's there now.
Terrible.
Yes.
There were no shortcuts. Those sleep roads were not there. Hi, after 3 weeks, I said, well, life cannot be this difficult. There must be an easier way. So I again moved to South Bay and got a bed-sitter extension. That one was very nice. No water issues, no traffic issues, because I think the population in that area was also quite light. And the road, it was now Mombasa Road. Yep. It was good. Fortunately, that's when now I was starting my family.
Yeah.
So now my bed sitter was no longer enough. So I had to move.
So you were getting married or you were getting your child?
Yes, I was.
Or both?
I got married.
Oh.
And I was going to get a child.
Okay.
Yes.
This is like what year of your work?
That was 92. That was the second year.
Oh, okay.
You see, I started 91, so this is now 92.
Okay.
That's when I conceived.
Okay.
So I had now to move to a bigger house because now the family is becoming bigger.
With your 5K, of course, those both chums.
Yeah, I think by this time I had got a salary increment. I think I was earning like 7K.
Not even 10. Okay.
Yeah, so I moved to Kabiria, satellite.
Oh, okay.
So, just after Kawangware.
Yes.
The only problem was that from the bus stop, the Kenya bus service bus stop, to my house was a 30 minutes walk.
Wow.
And I'm pregnant. So it was tough because, I had to walk in the morning and walk back in the evening. And because there were no matatus now, that last stretch. Fortunately, my next door neighbor, because there were apartments, I was occupying an apartment. My next door neighbor had a car, a Datsun 160J, and used to work in the lands office at community. And you see now my office is on Gong Road. So he gave me a lift once because he found me walking. And then I realized, kumbe, this guy just goes my route and he has a car. So what I used to do now from then on,
Danger.
So I would time him. So I even mastered, this guy leaves his house exactly 7.
Yeah.
So I would leave my house exactly 5 to 7. And start walking.
And it became standard.
And start walking.
Yes.
So me, I'm there walking. And then now I will see the kaka coming. Oh, Mary, would you like a lift? Of course, I want a lift. So he'll give me a lift. And that happened for the better part of my pregnancy.
For 9 months.
Yeah. No.
Did you get to a point where you just told him, hey, just be telling me when you go?
No, I can't. He's a family man now. We don't even have time to have that kind of a conversation. So I would just now wait until I would get out fast.
Yes, you're 5 minutes before.
Because I know when he finds me, he will carry me. Now, the problem is now, like when he's on leave, and he hasn't told me he's on leave. So we have left as usual 5 So I'm looking behind. The guy is not coming, and I'm getting annoyed. Why isn't the guy coming? So I'm like, but you have no contract with him to carry you to give you a lift. What's your problem?
Good one.
So anyway, finally, so I stayed there for 2 years.
So you got
I got my firstborn. Joy was born there.
In 92?
92.
Okay.
And then 94, we moved out to Nyayo High Rise, the one on Bagathi Way?
Yes.
So that's where Jackie was born, my second born.
Hey, okay. Hey, Mary, your story has a lot. Your career is just beginning.
Yes.
And then now you become a mother.
Yes. Almost immediately.
Yes. In fact, I don't know why in my head I was thinking your daughters were coming in the Equity season. Even though I've seen them and they are much older.
No, even Lisa was born before I joined Equity, but she was young.
So, what is that like? That must, you have some resilience.
No, it was, well, let me say it was great, because I think also getting kids when you are young, you have your usual challenges, but you also have the energy the speed to do a lot of, because motherhood also comes with a whole share of, things to deal with.
Yes.
So you need the energy. So that works in my favor.
Okay.
But then, now being a lawyer, coming to your question of did I have to travel? I needed to travel. So sometimes I would have cases in Nakuru, sometimes I would have cases in Meru, I would have cases in Nanyuki. At one point I had a case in Kisii.
What?
And I mean, I can't afford a flight at that time. Actually, the earlier part of my practice, I didn't even have a car. So I had to take a matatu. So I had to deal. So I had one case where I think Jackie was about less than a year, but I had to go to Embu for a matter. So you see now for me, with a young baby, I could not sleep out.
Yes.
So I had to get back to Nairobi. Now, so when I finished my business, I go to the bus stop. And then I find a matatu. The usual style, unaingia, then you have to wait for it to get full to leave the station. So we wait, there are no passengers. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is not getting full. I'm not sure what happened that day. So I'm asking people, okay, now it looks like this matatu will never get full. Is there any other alternative? Then one person told me, if you go to the main road where the Meru buses pass, you might get one with a seat. So now I moved to one of the petrol stations on the highway now to try to get a bus from Meru to ferry me to Nairobi. So I went there and no bus came. Then just when I'm about to give up, this vehicle comes. Watu wawili. So I look at it and I'm like, this is a Miraa vehicle.
Wow. Do you know how those things drive?
To take or not to take. To get in or not to get in.
Wow.
So you also have to make a decision quickly because you don't know how many people are waiting.
Yeah.
Maybe there are 3 people. There are only 2 seats. Watu wawili. I got in. And then I said my prayer and told God. And those guys tell you, so you're going to Nairobi? Yes. Okay, this vehicle is going either to Nairobi or to heaven. So now and they tell you straight when you're entering. So now you have to make a split-second decision to enter. Chances are you land in Nairobi
or heaven,
or you land in heaven. So I entered. because I was desperate.
Yeah.
So I needed to get to Nairobi. So I took that vehicle at 7:30 p.m. Embu. And at 8:15, they dropped me at Kencom.
What? And I'm not shocked. Those guys drive like insanity.
So I just closed my eyes. I'm not sure whether I was praying or whether I was actually imagining myself in heaven or... But I just said, well, God, I'm in your hands now.
You've seen things. You entered a mirror vehicle.
Yeah, but they delivered me at Kencom.
In record space.
In record speed. So that ended well. So, those are some of the sacrifices that we have to make as mothers.
And how are you feeling at this time? Do you have the mom guilt, or do you, I keep saying, some people don't have the luxury of choice.
Yes.
Sometimes I've had people here like, no, just take time off and watch over your baby. I'm like, some people don't have that option.
Yeah.
You get?
Yes.
And your story, in fact, there's one thing that I've realized about your story. You didn't have options.
No,
passing school was not an option.
It was not an option because first of all, I have myself to take care of, and I have my 2 kids to take care of. And that was also because my husband was still a student that time. He was in medical school.
Also, he has more years.
So, medical school was 5 years.
Yes.
And then after that, he immediately went for a master's.
Wow.
Abroad. So I had the burden of taking care of 2 babies at that time. And I also have my family, my siblings to support, and my mom. So, I had no option of where would I stay? How would I pay my rent? And in any case, I also have a career to grow. I've gone to school. I'm a lawyer now. So I have to advance my career also.
Yes.
If nothing else. So some people have that luxury and they're able to say, okay, I'll take a break for 5 years, which is okay.
Yes.
And take care of the kids. But there's those who don't. But mother's guilt is normal. And I don't think mother's guilt only happens to those who are working in an office setting or in their own enterprise. I think it also happens even to stay-at-home moms. Because everybody always thinks, oh, am I spending enough time with my family? I don't think that is something that you ever truly feel that you are doing enough of. And I can bet it affects many people, if not everybody, if not all. So I think we just need to learn to be comfortable and do what we need to do, especially where our families are concerned, and give them the space and the time that they require when we can, because it's always a balance. And I always say that there are times when your work gets 100% attention, because sometimes you are in a project which is time-bound and you have to sign this by a certain date. I have very strict deadlines, either by law or by the nature of the transaction. You have to do what you need to do. But it also depends, it also matters what you do when you finish and when you have that weekend off, or when you have that time you can take your leave. What do you do with that time? What do you do with after work? When I leave the office at 5 or 5:30, where do I go? So do I go for a catch-up drink with my friends, or do I choose to come to my kids and spend the evening with them, check whether they have done their homework? So those are some of the choices that we have to make as parents. And this does not only apply to mothers. I think it also applies to fathers. Yeah, so there are individual choices that we have to make. So what I always say is that you recognize what your priorities are. And I think for me, there are 4 main ones. There's family, there are friendships, there's your spiritual well-being, and then there's your physical well-being. So this is where you put things like, physical fitness, and spiritual is, of course, your spiritual things, and friendships, family, and all that. But then you also have your career and profession or business, because there are people who are self-employed. So once you recognize those priorities, and then you decide at this particular point now, if I take a Sunday, for instance, I will say a Sunday is biased towards my spiritual pillar.
Yes.
Because I commit more time. I go to church. I attend the Catholic Women Association meeting, or my Jumuiya meeting, or the whatever other activities are happening. But I dedicate very little time, if any, to career.
Yes.
Or to work. So you have to just plan based on what needs to get attention at any one time. But at the end of the day, you must make sure that each of those spheres is getting enough time as required.
You're intentional.
You're intentional about it. And of course, having the plan, but also discovering what is not important and getting rid of it. So I think, like for me, going out on an evening is not a priority. And I deliberately decided that. So I will skip that.
For the season that you're now.
Exactly.
Yes.
I will skip that for coming home when I get out of the office, most of the time. Once in a while, you still have a dinner, but you will do that. I don't love dinners, but once in a while, you can do that. So I always say that there's no one size fits all for everybody, because you also have to structure it based on your circumstances and what is happening in your life at one particular time.
Yeah. That's so powerful. You've answered the question of work-life balance, because I'm sure even people are like, ask about work-life balance. But I love what you said. You're the second person who I've had say there's nothing like work-life balance.
It is called integration. I would rather say it's integration, because you look at all the activities that you have to do, and then you allocate time based on what is important.
Priorities, yes.
But I also say that, there's a friend of mine who just told me, and I was so impressed. I was so tickled. She told me, you don't get a medal for going to Naivas and buying milk or buying tomatoes.
I see where this story is going.
What she meant was this: there are some activities that we can delegate effectively.
Yes.
But, we crowd our diaries with them sometimes. Of course, there are people who love shopping.
Yes.
But I don't feel guilty because I haven't gone to Naivas to pick milk or tomatoes or potatoes or unga or rice. My house manager knows it's hostess, it's a blue band, it's fruits, this type of oranges, this type of grapes, this type of... She knows what to buy.
Yes.
And the quantities.
Yep.
So she goes to
and
Naivas.
You have empowered her to do that.
I have empowered her. Yes. Somebody drops her and brings her home with everything. If she doesn't get something, she will tell me, they didn't have peas today. And I will tell her, try this.
You don't get a medal for it.
It made perfect sense to me. Because sometimes, we also crowd our diaries unnecessarily with things that somebody else can do. But in the same light, there are some things that we cannot delegate. I cannot delegate a kid's school function, prize giving day, sports day. Some parents also prefer to drop their kids to school, which is still okay if your calendar allows that. But there are some whose calendar does not allow.
Yep.
So you have to just do a common sense kind of schedule that works for you. And I'll tell you this, in my role, I travel a lot.
Yep.
Like now from February to mid-March, I'll be all over. I'll cover 5 countries.
How many?
For board meetings. Yes, for board meetings. And each of them is 2 days.
How many board meetings will you do in this time?
There are more than 60. Because there are 11 companies in the group.
Oh man, people want your life.
Together with
they don't know the madness that you
never desire my life. But there are some good aspects of it.
Yeah.
So it's okay. So if you invite me for whatever, between February, maybe around 6th and March 15th, I will tell you, no, I cannot do it because I'm not available.
Yep.
But I have planned my schedule. I have the schedules for all the board meetings for the year by now. So I know how to plan my schedule around when I'm not available. So, I mean, that's just how it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's powerful. I once had a conversation with a lady who was also in a very influential position, and she told me, you know what, even me, I need a wife.
To do some of the things for me.
Yeah, she's like, no, even me, I need a wife. Because, you know, sometimes the husbands, there's an expectation they have of the wife.
Yes.
To do some certain things, you know.
Exactly.
I want my shirt ironed, I want, you know, I want to be
even dinner I can't eat made by somebody else.
To come home to find dinner made for me.
Yeah.
I laughed, but she also said something very similar to what it is that you're saying, which was this delegation, especially, she's like, I don't shop. And she's like,
you send someone to do it.
And she's like, even in my role in my company, it is my job to learn how to delegate things. Yeah.
So it's both at home and in the office, because again, there are some tasks that somebody else can do competently that makes your workload easier. But of course, you must make sure that you have people with the right competencies and people who are dependable and reliable.
Okay.
So that again, you have a project and you're asking for that. Do you have that report for me? And someone is looking at you blankly, you know, after 2 days. Like, what report? And you are expecting it that day. So you also need to choose who to delegate to. Even the choice of a house manager is very important, because you also need someone who can, you know, manage things properly when you are not there. I mean, they know when kids have to have fed, they have to have taken their milk, they have to sleep, take their nap, when they have to be prepared for school.
And also do it your way.
Yeah, and do it your way. Yeah. So it's important also the kind of people that we have around us to help us with some of these things.
This is such a powerful conversation. Let's transition here. So you spent 5 years working under somebody.
Yes.
Of course, slightly going up in responsibilities and things. What made you get to the point where you decided it's time for delegation?
Now, in 1996.
Actually, let's change some batteries.
Yes.
We come back, 96. let them be hooked by that one. We're coming back in a few minutes. Let's just change the card so that she can talk for another 1 hour. Yeah.